Hello everyone. From time to time I'll run into a video here on YouTube from a black person. More often than not it's a black woman, but not always. But anyway, this person will have natural hair, and they will explain, sometimes in a rather condescending way, how black people who choose to process their hair are somehow self-hating. Are they? Are they not? I'll get into that later. Now, I have heard some good arguments for why you should wear your hair natural, and in fact I wear my hair natural. But the absolute worst argument you can make for natural hair is that it is natural. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but hear me out. When you make the argument that something is good simply because it occurs in nature or it is natural, that is committing a logical fallacy called the appeal to nature fallacy. That fallacy states exactly what I just said, assuming something is good or right simply because it's natural. Now, if you want to use nature to back up your argument, you have to show how whatever you're arguing for is beneficial in nature. You can't just say, well, this is natural, therefore it's good, and say nothing else. For example, human males compete for females. And if you were arguing for why that's a good thing, you could say, well, look at nature. Animal males also compete for animal females. But you can't just stop there. You have to say why that's a good thing. It's a good thing because it keeps the species or the race healthy. How? Because if the males compete, then the strongest male usually wins out, and he impregnates the females and passes on his strong genes to the offspring. If just any old weakling, sickly male was allowed to impregnate all the females, then the species would start to deteriorate. That is the way you properly use nature to back up an argument. Now, in order to make an argument like that for hair, first I think we should ask why our hair is like this. For the most part, only black people, or people who have black in them, have this type of hair. We have our features, our hair, our noses, our skin, because our ancestors evolved in a certain climate, and those features are a reaction to that climate. Outside of that climate, our hair texture is not necessary. I repeat, not necessary. If it were necessary, then we'd be the only people living here in the United States, because everybody else would be dead because they didn't have this type of hair. But that's not the case. No other race, or at least not in significant numbers, no other race of people has our hair type because their ancestors evolved in a different climate where a different type of hair was necessary. Now, our dark skin is still beneficial because it protects us from the sun. But even still, it is not necessary because today we have sunscreen and we have clothing and we can go indoors. And this doesn't just pertain to our features, this pertains to the East Asian eye, to white people's very light skin. We see evidence all over the world of people going and living in a different climate than what their ancestors evolved in, and for the most part they're fine. They don't have any major health problems. I mean, they may have to put on sunscreen or whatever, but they're still fine. Now, what is my point in all this? I would like to direct your attention to two videos I have linked to over in the sidebar. Please go and watch them. For those of you who have not stopped the video and went to watch the videos yet, I'll give a quick synopsis of what happens in those videos. Both videos are social experiments. In one video, there are 6 people in an elevator, 5 of them are working together, and 1 person is an unsuspecting victim. Now, usually when you get in an elevator, you go in, but you turn around and face the door. Well, these 5 people who are working together, they get in the elevator and they turn to the back. The victim, who is used to turning to the front, sees that everybody else has turned to the back, and eventually they turn to the back. Then the 5 people would turn to the side, so then the victim would turn to the side. And in one instance, the 5 people take off their hats and then put them back on, and the victim does the same thing even though he has no clue why he's doing this other than that the other people are doing it. In the other video, there's like 8 or 9 people in a class, and the teacher, or the person giving the seminar, asks a very simple question that you just can't mess up. Just like the first video, everyone is in on the joke except for 1 person. They tell 8 of the 9 people to give the wrong answer to a very simple question. At first, the person who is not in on it will give the right answer, but they'll be puzzled about why everybody else gave the wrong answer. But eventually, every single person would change their answer to an answer they knew was wrong just to fit in with everybody else. Now, what does that have to do with the hair? Well, we are the only people with this hair. We are the 6th person in that elevator. We are the 9th person in that seminar. We are the most different from everybody else. Some of us like being different. We like wearing afros or locks, or wearing makeup that accentuates our lips or bone structure. Some of us are not concerned about staying out of the sun so we don't get too dark. But on the flip side of that, some people don't like to be different. And that's not a black thing. It's a human thing. Everybody conforms. If you happen to have your hair natural, that's just one way you chose not to conform, but you conform in other ways. What's a very popular look right now? The mohawk / faux hawk. Even the black boys are shaving mohawks into their heads these days. I mean, their faux hawks and their mohawks don't look like anybody else's, but they're still wearing them and they're still conforming to a fad. And I never thought I'd see the day where baggy clothes would not be the only style for black males, but I'm starting to see skinny jeans on regular black guys, not just the nerdy ones or the ones who quote-unquote act white. I'm starting to see them on regular black guys. And some of y'all need to wear cups, by the way. But anyway, the punk rock look, or fashion forward, or whatever you call it, that look has a female version. Now, unfortunately, many of these hairstyles are not possible unless you change the texture of black hair. I don't see black women perming their hair as necessarily an act of self-hate. It could just be conforming. And everyone conforms. A few years ago, a black guy wouldn't have been caught dead in no tight jeans. He would have been called all sorts of gay. And let's not forget, black men used to perm their hair too, it just went out of style for men. In my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee, there are black guys still wearing jerry curls today. Still. How do fads even get started in the first place? Because, quote-unquote, everybody starts doing it. People ask, when are we going to stop this light-skin, dark-skin thing, or this good hair, bad hair thing? Basically, never. The only way I see that stopping is if black people had their own country with no other race of people in it. As long as people of different races come together and occupy the same living space, a standard is going to emerge and people are going to strive for that. And it just so happens that that standard is rarely us. Now, I'm not a black nationalist, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you ever hope to end the dark skin, light skin thing, the good hair, bad hair thing, that's the only way that I see. We look the most different from the other races that we have to augment ourselves the most to fit in. Everybody conforms. It's just some people don't have to change themselves as much to fit the standard, and some people don't have to change themselves at all. So is it conformity or is it self-hate? Where does conformity end and self-hate begin? Is it when you get a nose job? Is it when you bleach your skin? Is it when you perm your hair? Where's the line? Is a red-headed white kid who dyes his hair black to be emo, is he self-hating or is he conforming? There are even Asian kids over in China and Japan and Korea who get perms to make their hair kinky, like African kinky. Not curly, mind you, kinky. Are they self-hating? But anyway, that's what I want to talk about today. Let's get some video responses going. Let's get some dialogue started. Let's talk about this. Peace.